Hey, I'm Dr. Hannah and I'm a physician with type 1 diabetes. Today we're going to talk about how to manage stress with diabetes backed by research, looking at different studies that can answer the question of how to help diabetes related stress. We know that stress can affect our blood sugars, but there are diabetes tools that have been shown to help with this. Stress in general increases cortisol, and cortisol is a chronic stress hormone. Cortisol can increase our blood sugar by increasing insulin resistance, which is our body's ability to use insulin. So often during a time of stress, what can happen is we need more insulin to manage our blood sugar, to cover certain carbs, or to correct a high blood sugar. And we don't realize our insulin sensitivity has temporarily changed due to the stress. So what happens is we often take a normal amount of insulin and then see that our blood sugar doesn't respond the same way, resulting in high blood sugar. Now, this is a general trend that can happen for people, and it's really this idea of HPA axis dysregulation, which can lead to hyperglycemia, meaning that our hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis increases its production of cortisol, impacting our insulin resistance, increasing insulin resistance. So we need more insulin, but we don't know it. And when we don't take that additional need for insulin, it can result in high blood sugars for us. In people without type 1 diabetes, we see that an increase in cortisol will increase blood sugars overall as well. There is a link between stress and diabetes ketoacidosis in youth, and we've seen that in the literature. So we know it's important for us to take this seriously. It's not just about how we feel in the moment, it's also about our overall long-term health. We're going to talk about 4 evidence-based strategies for reducing stress that can help with blood glucose management that have been studied in people with diabetes. The first is mindfulness-based stress reduction in a study that was done in 2007. And what we see is that mindfulness-based stress reduction has been shown to improve blood glucose and actually even improve A1C. Now, mindfulness-based stress reduction is meditation-like exercises. So this could be a guided meditation, listening to a yoga nidra, which is a specific type of stress reduction meditation, or even doing things like yoga where we're moving our body but our mind is more clear. The second evidence-based strategy to improve stress is exercise. We know that exercise lowers cortisol and improves insulin sensitivity. I remember using this when I was in medical school and I had to sit for a long time as I was getting ready for board exams, and I would realize that I had increased stress as we got closer to the tests, and I was more sedentary. And so I would see an increase in my insulin needs and my blood sugars would go up before the exams. So what I got into the habit of doing was making my notes in a format where I could take them and read through them while I was on the treadmill or the elliptical, because I found that moving my body more really helped counteract that cortisol that increased my blood sugar and made it hard to study. So that was a strategy that worked really well for me. The third tip is sleep optimization. Now, we know that there is less variability in blood sugar when we're getting enough sleep and consistent sleep. Night shifts can be really challenging on blood sugar, especially if we're flipping back and forth, because it increases cortisol and it changes that cortisol rhythm throughout the day that can increase blood glucose overall. So what we typically recommend is wanting to make sure people are getting enough sleep, so 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Ideally over 7.5. There was a new larger study that came out showing that people that got less than 7.5 hours of sleep had increased risk of many chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, obesity, even things like osteoarthritis. So 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep a night, and trying if you can to make it pretty consistent. So a similar bedtime and wake up time every day. And the fourth is cognitive reframing. So this is shifting from a crisis mindset to a growth mindset. There are lots of ways to do this, including cognitive behavioral therapy with a licensed counselor. Other ways to do this are seeking peer or group support or individual learning and self-analysis. I've created a course for people with type 1 diabetes for burnout and stress specifically that looks at how to reframe our relationship with diabetes to create something that feels better than where we are today. It's a self-paced 6-module course that is completely led by me, and it is pre-recorded so you can watch it on your own time. I will link that below. Stress is significant for people with type 1 diabetes, and stress management is a really important diabetes balancing tool to learn, in addition to how to take our insulin and when to test our blood sugar. Evidence-based interventions, again, are mindfulness, exercise, exercise, sleep, optimization, and cognitive reframing. In the description for this video, I will have a link to the online course. We'll also have a list of references to the studies. If you have any questions about diabetes to stress or stress in general as it relates to diabetes, I'd love to answer those, so please comment below. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the channel. That would mean a whole lot to me as I try to reach more people with type 1. Thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope to see you next time. I'll have another video with similar content pop up here if you'd like to learn more.